help me keep the heat even when I'm hardly. Cause these niggas is hating on me just because I'm the biggest, the largest, the biggest, the largest. 30K on my riches for hard times. These niggas just made that bitch in my archive. Blood came back on the 4-5. If you play, then you lay right there by your own kind. Pull up a phone with a logo. Tell them run this bitch back like so-so. Got this rap shit here in the chokehold. Did a show out in Austin. Shout out to Bobo. Moved out the trenches, now look how we live. Turn my BM to furnish the crib. Walk out the...
Be super cool if I unmuted my mic. I am so sorry. Okay, episode number 5 here. Episode number 5, Playbook Podcast Live. Super excited to be a little bit of a late night edition. As I said on my Instagram earlier this morning, was going to kind of keep it a mystery as to when I popped on, mainly because I'm a mysterious guy. That's how I like to do things. Like to be mysterious. Like to be different. Right, like to switch the routine up a little bit, and also I wanted to make sure I had enough time to prepare an adequate show. I also had a fantasy draft tonight, which was a big deal. Rocked that out. I'm in I gotta be over a decade playing fantasy football altogether. I took a couple years off because, quite frankly, I was just I coached college football for a brief moment. And in the brief moment when I was coaching college football, I didn't have the time. And then kind of previous to that, when I was in college, I had been roundly dismissed, excommunicated, expelled, whatever word you want to put, from my fraternity fantasy league because I was just so bad at, actually setting a lineup, remembering to do it, because that would have required, just a modicum minor, organizational ability, which I, at that point in my life, just didn't have. And then prior to that too, when I was in high school, same deal, right? I was in a fantasy league with my buddies from home when I was at boarding school. And then just through sheer lack of organization, you just couldn't get it together, set the lineup on time. So say all that to say, these past 2 years, I've been in a fantasy league. I've been actually in 2, and it's been awesome, right? I was able to come in, I believe, top 5 of one last year, and then the other one I was bottom of the barrel. So looking to scrap claw my way back into it. The league I was the most competitive in, I will say, was my fraternity brother league. So that's what I was happy about, right? I think that was a league I had I remember it was kind of a big deal, me getting kind of welcomed back into that league, right? They had to vote on it, and it came down to, it was kind of a tight vote from what I heard. And, being able to kind of come back, show that, hey, listen, I know it was hotly contested, bringing me back here into the league, but I'm glad hopefully I made it worthwhile, right, with my showing. The other league, well, yeah, look, that other league that I did not do so hot in, that was our first season. So a lot of runway left there, a lot of runway left in that league, a lot of runway left in this season for that league, right? I just drafted with that league tonight. So we may take a little look at my team a little later on in the show. I don't know if I'm ready to really expose what I got. Right. I don't know how good I'm feeling, because here's the thing, man. Everyone's got their own kind of fantasy football theories, fantasy football ideas, ways they do things. Right. There's, it's the old Jim Rome had kind of a bit about this like 20 years ago. Right. You have these old different kind of personalities in every fantasy league. Right. You've got the guy who's, super organized, knows everything. And then you've got, the dude who's kind of in between, doesn't really know, a whole spectrum. Right. And I think, everyone, like I said, everyone based on, I think, their own level of involvement, level of interest, has their own kind of theories about how, you should draft this type of player in this round. Right. And they're always, the loudest to pipe up and let you know when you've made a mistake. So if you're that person, screw you. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah. So that was tonight. Also got to be headed out to Wisconsin tomorrow. Doing a little nice vacation. It's going to be pretty sweet. I've never been to Wisconsin. It's going to be fun. Headed out to Lake Country out there. I got to be honest, man. If you were to ask me beach or lake, I'm probably saying lake. Although I do love a beach. I am not anti-beach, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say lake. Just because I, love to go fishing. Now I don't know if I'm going to be going fishing this time around, but anytime I get on a lake or get near one, I love to have the opportunity to hit up some old fishing, if you will. It's always good. I wonder what kind of fish they got up there up in the lakes in Wisconsin. I don't know. I should know what lake we're going to. I don't know. I just know it's a lake. But maybe we could pull some bass out of there. But no, needless to say, it's going to be a fun time. Spend some time with the family. Going to be catching week 0 up there as well. Which, come on, man, does it really get any better than that, right? A nice Saturday watching college football on the on the lake. So love that. We'll be talking about some week 0 stuff as we move forward here in this show. So some housekeeping items here as it relates to the playbook and what he will be up to in September. So as of in terms of if you want to come see the playbook, come see him live. You can catch me September 13th, September Brawl. Wow, that's wrestling. It's one of my it's a great promotion. They brought me back, so thankful to them up there in Summit Hill at the Hilltop Community Center. Great spot to watch some wrestling, man. Come on out and see us. All your favorite stars from Wow, That's Wrestling. The week before that, I don't have a flyer for it, but September 6th will be at Colossal Con up there in East Stroudsburg. So come on out, check us out, buy some merch, support. You'll watch some good local wrestling, man. Again, these tickets only $10. Right, WWE tickets. They just announced we're doing WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis. They just had Monday Night Raw, and I believe they did a Raw and a NXT in Philadelphia, which is close to where I am. So those tickets, I would imagine, are at the cheapest, probably $100, $150. Right here, this is $10, and it's just as good entertainment. So please come on, check us out, and watch some good old wrestling, man. There's no better Saturday night entertainment. Right, you want a nice kind of break from maybe you watched the whole day of college football. Maybe you're a little footballed out. You're going to kind of take a night off of the football before the NFL season kicks off the next day. Come watch some professional wrestling with us down in good old Summit Hill, Pennsylvania. And then that next week, baby. Oh shoot. Okay. And then the next week after that will be in Allentown, PA. I'll be in Allentown, PA. Extreme Hybrid Wrestling. Be there. Throwdown in Allentown, baby. A-Town. That's super cool. Allentown, Pennsylvania. A lot of history with professional wrestling. Specifically, obviously, with the recent death of Hulk Hogan, there's been kind of a lot of that history has been kind of retold, which is super cool. I think it's awesome. So again, a lot of history there in the city of Allentown as it relates to professional wrestling, and just be able to, wrestle for the first time in Allentown is going to be super cool. I wrestled in Bethlehem this past summer, so making my way around the Lehigh Valley, which is super cool. So please come out and check out the playbook. I'll be letting you know where I'm at. If you see me, come buy some merch. We've got some of my silicone bracelets here, most intense, best conditioned. We've also got some stickers as well. So please check us out, or check me out, and check out all the great independent professional wrestling around the greater Lehigh Valley, Eastern PA, South Jersey, New York metro area. There's a lot of real good stuff. Okay, so I want to jump into some things here right off the top here. So look, someone that has been talked about a lot that I think is really misunderstood is JOR-DON Hudson. JOR-DON Hudson, obviously the girlfriend of Bill Belichick. She's 24 years old. She's this pageant queen, and really, I think, kind of took the sports world by storm when this relationship was kind of announced or brought to the world because of the obvious age gap, and then I think also too of who Bill Belichick is. Right, Bill Belichick, greatest greatest coach, obviously one of the greatest professional football coach of all time, greatest coach in sports ever, probably, just given the amount of time, given his wins. But despite the fact that he has all of these accolades, Bill Belichick famously is kind of this mystery, right? Doesn't interact with the media very often, famously adversarial, antagonistically so sometimes with the media, right? So when he all of a sudden shows up or is seen in the media now out with this young woman who seemingly is the total opposite of everything he was as a coach, which is she is constantly wanting the spotlight, always wants to make herself the center of attention, right? Those are two things that Bill Belichick, if you ask anybody who played for him, will tell you he was vehemently against. But now he finds himself in this relationship with her for whatever reason, and we could probably discuss that. But I think it's just something that I just think it's a fascinating tale, right? It's a fascinating tale for all of the soap opera reasons, right? You have the sex element of it, right? Okay, and look, be that as it may, right? There's kind of that sex relationship element of it, right? Meaning that, is Jordan Hudson using her sex appeal, who she is from an attractiveness standpoint physically? Is she using that to try and gain some type of, climb some rung on a ladder, right, to higher society? That's often been a thought, right? But really what it is. It's this live action soap opera, right? It's all the things you hear about in the Real Housewives, or it's all the things you kind of that are, again, soap opera, right? You can't script this. It is really, there's that quote, right? Life imitating art. This is what this is. And I just find it fascinating. And I find it fascinating how a guy that for so long had sold himself as this impenetrable, super focused, disciplined, black and white, cold, win or lose kind of guy, how that whole persona has kind of melted in a lot of ways. And there's this weird, I think what we're going to see here in these clips, and hopefully I can explain it right, is we're going to see kind of a interesting sort of unraveling, right? Bill Belichick was this guy, as football fans knew him, was somebody who was always prepared, was never going to be caught off guard. If he was very rare, was, again, very adversarial with the media, wouldn't tell him anything. It was like, you're talking to, kept things very close, right? Famously, the Patriots were one of the small staffs in the NFL. Reason for that was they wanted to keep everything they wanted to keep the information and everything. They wanted to keep information in, right? They want to keep things in-house, or keep it very close, because it's easily controllable that way, right? You can control narrative. You can control people when they're very close to you, when there's not a lot of them, right? Not groundbreaking psychology or sociology here, but the fact of the matter is, Bill Belichick for so long was a guy who was a total control freak. He ran everything related to that Patriots football organization. There's no question about it. How did a guy who for so long was Mr. Control, Mr. Prepared, all of these great accolades that he would talk about in the Patriot way, how did that all seemingly kind of go away when he met this girl? Because it seems like it has. So let's watch this clip. So Pablo Torre finds out, great podcast. Pablo Torre is a guy who has done a lot of really good investigative work related to Jordan Hudson. He's reached out to people. He did a whole series. He did a whole podcast back in May related to kind of uncovering who she is, how she got connected with Bill Belichick. They also talked a lot about the CBS Sunday morning interview that was a total train wreck. So in this clip, they're going to talk about how Jordan Hudson was able to kind of weasel her way into the inner circle of Bill Belichick.
Bro, inch by inch. I can take this, I can take this. And the question then is like, why wasn't anyone in the way? Why was the power vacuum so empty? The inner circle of Bill Belichick is a fascinating thing. His PR used to be managed by this guy, Berge Najarian. He was handling all of his personal PR. He was the guy who, as Bill Belichick, was very hard to deal with. He was very easy to work with, but ultimately they said nothing. It was a good relationship. He's now, however, the chief of staff at Boston College, leaving behind a group with whom.
Okay, so that's a really important element right there that Pablo just laid out. For Bill Belichick's whole career, again, that is almost 30 years with the Patriots, right? 20 plus years with the Patriots. He had a guy managing his communications, Berge Najarian. I believe Berge Najarian's title was like director of football. It was like, I think, assistant to the head coach or some wacko made up title like that. But his job was to basically, he was Bill Belichick's assistant pretty much, right? But he controlled the access to Bill Belichick. This is not uncommon in a football structure. When I was at Marshall as a student intern, Marshall had one, right? Heath. He was Doc's guy. He controlled access to who got the Doc. If you were a player, you had to go through Heath to set up a time with Doc, right? No different than this, right? But instead now, Berge Najarian, because again, it's the NFL, he's going to deal with any media request. Hey, when the media office wants to get access to Bill Belichick, when the PR guy needs Belichick to go talk to CBS or talk to local media, he's going through Berge Najarian, right? That's an easy go-between, right? Well, now that go-between, that steady, reliable go-between that could mediate, right, could control the access, right, is no longer. So now there is no control of the access because Belichick has never had to do that. He doesn't know what that means, doesn't know how to, because he's never had to do it, right? So you can imagine how you have now a guy who went from having every bit of his communications, his daily life in that realm controlled to now it's not anymore. Interesting thing to think about.
Whom Bill Belichick still has a standing pre-dawn phone call every single day. You got Matt Patricia, the former defensive coordinator of the Patriots, and also briefly the offensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels is also in this group. Also, Mike Lombardi, longtime friend of Bill Belichick, former Patriots assistant, now GM at UNC. And these are yes men. Bill Belichick is somebody who has been for decades incredibly insulated from having to live anything resembling a normal life. He has been a coach. He has been in charge. These guys.
Okay. So another element there, and Pablo talks about it there too, right? He describes and he lays out the Bill Belichick inner circle, right? Okay. McDaniels, Lombardi, Patricia, right? He did his show with Patricia and Lombardi. Okay. There is no doubt anything he does, anything he was going to do pre-North Carolina, whether it's NFL or college, those guys are going to have a part in it. Because they are this Patriots government in exile, right? It's they're this group. It's like this odd. It's like when you read about like Joseph Stalin, right? He had this group of people. He had like this very insular, small group of people that were yes men that would never tell him anything other than what he wanted to hear, and that insulates you. And when you live like that for years of your life, and long periods of your life like that, and you have a lot of success because of it, it can warp your worldview. Right? Again, like Pablo said, he's got a standing pre-dawn phone call with these dudes. Every morning they're waking up 4:30 in the morning. They're going to sit around with Bill Belichick. They're having they're having coffee together. And the thing is, all of these guys will, whether it's McDaniels, Lombardi, Patricia, they're never, ever going to say no to Bill because he's their meal ticket. He is the only reason Mike Lombardi got a $4.5 million contract from UNC. He's the reason why Lombardi's kids have a job. Don't you see? He's the reason McDaniels isn't in the NFL without having come back to New England and had a success a second time with Belichick. His success, their success, it's all tied together. They are tied to him. They need him more than he needs them. Therefore, there's never going to be any type of dissent.
are watching Jordan come in and they're like eye rolling. They're kind of like nudging each other is the description, but they're not telling Bill, they're not telling Coach this is a bad idea. So she comes in and out alphas everybody. And that's how, in a very short amount of time, in a period of months, they watch her take power.
We do seem to love, especially as an online public.
And again, that just goes to show you, in a lot of respects, the quality of like man and person, guys like Matt Patricia and guys like, dudes like Josh McDaniel are. Like, they don't care. They're just like, if they were true friends of Belichick, right, and actually cared about him on a personal level, they would go up to him and say, hey man, like, this is ridiculous. Now, again, we don't know if they haven't already done that, but they won't. They probably haven't, because number one, they just don't have the time to. They don't have the care, probably. They have their own personal shit to worry about, right? They're coaching football teams. They have families, right? They have more responsibilities. They have other things to distract them from this, right? But again, still, there wasn't time months before Patricia was at OSU and before McDaniels was at the Patriots for the third time that they couldn't have said something to him about her. I mean, something to think about, I think. These guys are so blinded by the professional loyalty. And I guess it's not shocking, really, at the end of the day. We shouldn't be shocked when there's this much money involved. I mean, ask yourself, would you be willing? I probably wouldn't. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
We love a woman to put everything on. And while I'm not in any way saying that Jordan is innocent or anything in all of this, it does seem like a number of people were in a position that could have gone, hey, this isn't cool. But they were so much more interested in their access to this power that they let it get really bad and are now like, crazy, right? She's nuts. And you're like, yeah. Thank you.
Boom, right there. Guys like Lombardi and McDaniels, they don't care. They don't, as long as they have the access, as long as they know they can pick up the phone, call Belichick, and he's going to put in a word for him. As long as they know that, they're never going to say anything about this girl who is doing nothing but destroying his reputation. So that's the first clip there. We'll go into the second one here. I think the second one, let's see what this. Okay, this second one is from a different podcast. And again, this should, again, so this is the Sports Gossip podcast. There's these two girls. They're the sports media backgrounds. They're on The Athletic. And they had been covering Jordan pretty heavily, JOR-DON, whatever. They had been covering her pretty heavily. They'd actually gone to the Miss Maine competition, which was this big which was a pageant that Jordan was heavily involved in. That was like that was like her thing. That was like her Super Bowl. She was trying to win. They went to it and they really kind of covered it very fairly. And so they've been trying to kind of get in contact with Jordan, trying to get her on the podcast, try to talk to her, give her a venue to tell her side of the story. And what they detailed in their communications with Jordan is crazy. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. Let me play the clip.
I say hello. She says, hi. And I was like, hey. And this woman goes, this is JOR-DON Hudson. So my heart starts beating pretty quickly because like this is like a poster started talking and came off of the wall.
Yes.
This is like you're sitting down with Bigfoot after no one's seen him forever.
Okay, I will say the one annoying thing about it, I listen to this podcast is they like really like kind of glaze JOR-DON Hudson. Like they are very like it's not that big a deal. They kind of make a big deal out of her. Like I don't think it's that big a deal. Like it's a poster on your wall talking to you, but still it's a big deal, right? It's this person that anytime you see someone who is of note, right, that you only really know through like a phone screen or a television screen, you see them kind of out in person. It's a cool thing. It's kind of like, whoa, oh my gosh, there you are.
forever because he's Bigfoot. Right. So she keeps talking and she goes, yeah, it's Jordan, the president of your universe.
Unbelievable. Put it on a mug.
And I said, well,
That's crazy. Play that again.
and she goes, yeah, it's Jordan, the president of your universe.
Unbelievable. Put it on a mug.
And I said, well, Jordan, yes, you certainly are the president of my universe. A number that is not in my.
That's crazy. That's insane. And again, I think it goes to show you, right, who this girl thinks she is. Now, again, could she have been saying that in a kind of a flippant, joking manner? Maybe. Who knows? But given everything that we know about her, it's probably not the case, right? Again, this is like who. I like to joke around, all right? But I would never call someone who I didn't know, and when they would answer the phone, I'd be like, hey, this is the Playbook. I'm the president of your universe. No, I would not do that. That's ridiculous, right? As a regular, no, I would not do that. Only someone who is a narcissist, who's crazy, who lives in a world of pageants and make-believe does that. Now, I'm a professional wrestler. Okay, say what you want, but still, it's ridiculous to think you can, like, to think you can say that to someone on the phone, but also makes you wonder, is that how she talks to everybody? That's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So again, that gives you an idea of who she is on an interpersonal level, right? But I think this right here, this next clip I'm going to play here is really quite fascinating, and it shows you the depths at which people will go, or the depths at which she will go, rather, Jordan will go, to insert herself into any situation to try and focus the attention onto herself. This right here this should show you, this clip will show you how Jordan can infiltrate situations, right? Capitalizes on the fact that she's with Bill Belichick, who's really the person they want to market, who they really want, right? Who they really want the access to. But she takes that and totally hijacks it, right? And uses it for her own ends.
Was not in charge of everything. But there was one famous.
Okay, so this says right here, Bill Belichick's girlfriend crashed the set of his commercial. Bill Belichick's girlfriend crashed the set of his commercial, sources tell Pablo Torre, and tried to make her own ad. Quote, she left set, came back, and was wearing a yellow polka dot bikini. The crew filmed her, sources say, but the camera might not have been on. That's crazy. Pablo's going to break this down for us.
Story that was witnessed by, I am told, dozens of people, including freelance contractors who were hired to work on the set for a 7-figure scripted commercial.
This is Belichick. Talk to me.
Double B.
Tyrese.
What's good with these wideouts?
7 figures. It's a lot of money. Obviously. Goes to show you, too, how much money they're pounding and how much money they're just absolutely flooding the sport, how much money is flooding in to these sports gaming apps. Unbelievable.
He's going to get in the end zone, no doubt about that.
My man. William, answer the phone.
Billy B, my man.
Cam.
How's QB1 looking?
It's looking more like QB3.
My body rejects that.
What I am told by multiple people among the dozens who witnessed the shooting of this is that what happened that day on set was, quote, highly unusual. Jordan Hudson had arrived on set and started immediately pitching herself for a role that had not been discussed in this scripted 7-figure commercial shoot.
Which is insane. Because again, I don't make commercials. I'm not experienced in this, but logic will tell you that anything that is 7 figures, any project that is 7 figures, right? Any decisions about, like, let me back that up. Any commercial shoot that has a 7-figure investment in it, logic would tell you that the decisions about who's going to be in those commercials probably has been made way before they showed up to set. They don't just kind of think about that. Right? And this is, again, evidence one of JOR-DON Hudson being unsophisticated and having no clue what she's doing in the world she stepped into, trying to manage Bill Belichick and be his like social media person / girlfriend.
That would also serve as, quote, the hard launch of their relationship. She left set, came back sometime later, and she was wearing a yellow polka dot bikini
Shut up.
and
no.
a sun hat.
She would just be by the pool with him. That was the idea.
For you.
And again, right, this goes to show you, right, this is the pageant theater girl stuff, right? Very performative, very attention seeking, right? Again, trying to make it about her, right? The antithesis of everything a guy like Bill Belichick doesn't want, right? It's not about you. Don't make it about you.
I pitched this to her.
For you.
She left.
In the room.
She called me, and I was like, get that kini on, girl.
She shows up. She's wearing a bikini. She's walking around. Bill Belichick, if you're wondering, betrays no emotional change as this is happening. As she called him on set multiple times, this is a star. She kept on calling him a star.
That's why you're
paying
allowed
him
to
a lot
be
of money.
here. We're even pretending to.
So the fact that Belichick probably had no emotion, he probably had no idea what was going on. I don't think that was because he was, playing some super secret, 4D chess with him. He didn't know what the hell was going on. This guy, you think this guy's ever been on a commercial shoot before? I'd say probably not.
Listen to you because of the star.
Because she's insisting the hard launch be good for the commercial. And Belichick was going along with it. He's like, of course, this seems totally normal, like a thing you would do. The crew had to figure out, what the do you do now?
And again, that's another thing. Belichick thought it was normal, like it was a total thing you just did. Okay. So again, he is as clueless as she is when it comes to media relations, how you deal in these situations. These are very important, right? When you're somebody like Bill Belichick, and I think Bill Belichick's a guy who, as much as he's tried to run from it during his coaching career, he is obviously a public figure. He is very well known. He is super famous. Okay. Duh. Right. And he doesn't want, I don't think he understands that his notoriety requires him to have a certain level of staffing, a certain level of architecture around him to try and make sure he doesn't make these mistakes, right? Meaning you have to have someone who is an experienced public relations person, an experienced media agent to field these opportunities, coordinate them, deal with them, right? It's not this pageant girl went to Bridgewater State. Nothing against Bridgewater State, but come on. She has no experience in this kind of thing. That's why you're constantly making mistakes and looking like a fool.
Oh, no.
So the premise of the ad, according to my sources, was JOR-DON Hudson by the pool, sunning herself in a lounge chair, trying to get Bill's attention.
Oh, she added script idea. It wasn't just she'd be in the background of the shot we saw.
She had motivation.
Okay.
Taping for the actual commercial was done by then. And so what they did was they filmed something
Oh my
No,
God.
that one source told me
It's embarrassing.
may have involved a camera that may not have even been
Oh
on.
my God, this is so embarrassing. It's like when you give a kid a
Yes.
controller for a video game and you play.
That's embarrassing. That's insane. That just goes to show you, right? I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get it done, right? When you got that much money into something, you do what you got to do. But crazy.
It and you go, you're doing great. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh my God.
They had zero intention of using it.
I got goosebumps. That is
yeah,
that's a real
That
nightmare.
hurts me.
I'm embarrassed.
That makes me feel for her. In
Yes,
spite of the fact that
yes.
she is,
Unfortunately, I now
I
feel
think,
bad.
the villain up to this point in this particular story. I am like, oh gosh.
Yeesh.
I agree.
I hope that footage is destroyed.
If
there
there
was
is
any.
any
I hope there
footage.
isn't any. And if it is, I hope it was destroyed.
Please don't have that footage right now.
And no, I don't have it.
Oh, thank
That
God.
was crazy.
I believed him.
I looked.
Oh, God, of course you did.
As of the summer of 2024, JOR-DON Hudson was not in charge of everything. But there was one famous story that was
All right, there we go. So that just goes to show you again, she's getting a lot of control. For what reason? Who knows why? Again, I think it's because Bill Belichick is allowing her to it. Bill Belichick has no idea, has no understanding of how to control her, right? Because he's not used to this. Again, he had that version of Jerry and guy who just did all this stuff for him. right? This Bert Najarian was experienced in dealing with national, local media. Jordan Hudson is not. That's why we have the situation we have now. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think, look, dude, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be real interesting. It's going to get really interesting when you start talking about, sorry about that. Okay. Anyways, it's going to get real interesting week 1 because I'm telling you what, she will be plastered all over that broadcast. She's going to be all over it, and it's going to be wacky. It's going to be crazy. I'm trying to pick up my mic here. All right. Okay. Anyways. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying to say is, I think this is all interesting when you set it to the backdrop of Belichick coming in to obviously UNC for the first year. This being probably one of the biggest stories in all of college football. How is this media circus going to play out? What's it going to look like? And can't wait to find out. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have more on the flip side. All right, what up? We're back. Okay, so going to talk about so obviously, look, it broke the internet, unprecedented numbers for the Kelsey Swift couple there on the YouTube. Huge numbers for them. Obviously, I think it would hit like 3 million at one point. They had gone I think they had literally crashed YouTube at a certain point, which is unreal. And I think again, it speaks to who Taylor Swift is, right? Who she is not only as who she is as a brand, right, worldwide. You had Lamar Hunt, Chiefs owner, coming out and saying stuff like, she's done things for us from a female fan perspective that we've never had done before. I think the Chiefs are, like, among females, the most popular NFL team, and it's literally all because of Taylor Swift. So no denying that. So obviously they were on the old New Heights. So we'll take a look at the clip here, and I'll tell you why I think she's been going on New Heights, or why I think she went on New Heights.
What took you so long to jump on podcasts?
You know what? I was waiting for you guys to invite me. This is my favorite podcast.
So we've already been over this. You're a big fan of the show. You're a 92%er. What are your favorite segments that you hear Travis and I go into on a routinely basis?
I like new news just because of the screaming. Like, I hear him screaming new news from across the house constantly. It's like my favorite part. Like, he'll be like, new news, and I'm in the kitchen being like, new news. So I love that because of just the bellowing of it. Like, I love No Dumb Questions.
That's a banger.
I really like it when you give people advice. It's kind of my personal favorite.
Do you usually agree with the advice, or do you just like listening to it?
I mean, I think that, like, you guys give such male-centric advice. It's which I think is just just dudes who don't want drama.
Yeah.
Dudes who are trying to avoid the mess. But sometimes you're gonna do a bit and say the messiest thing that they.
Interesting. I want to key on to something right there. She said, dudes that will avoid the drama. Taylor Swift was involved in a drama of her own. Really not her own drama, but she was involved, or at least tangentially involved, in the whole Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni mess. Okay. If you don't know it, really not that important. It was this massive lawsuit in Hollywood. A lot of mud raking, a lot of stuff going on, but Taylor Swift ended up kind of being a part of that. And there were some things that were exposed potentially. There were some things exposed about Taylor Swift that were really not the best, right? Wouldn't paint her in the best. Obviously, she's got some of the best PR people in the game. They were able to kind of sweep it under the rug, make sure none of that stuff really got out. And now that Justin Baldoni ended up losing his lawsuit, really doesn't matter anymore. But I think, you saw Taylor Swift, right, over the summer, right, go to the tight end university thing, right, in Nashville. Got up on the stage, place went nuts, right? And she's going on the New Heights, right? Now, again, I'm sure this New Heights appearance has been planned in the works for a long time, okay? But I would imagine that it's also part of, much like when she went to tight end university, it's kind of part of a minor image rehabilitation. Now, again, I'm not saying her image was damaged at all, but I'm saying I think they're trying to maybe reposition her a little bit. What I mean by that is they want to position her. They want to remind you that, hey, Taylor Swift is not this mean, evil person that Justin Baldoni's legal team was trying to paint her as. She's actually the girl next door, teardrops on my guitar, Taylor Swift that we all know and love, who's dating Travis Kelce, right? And she's now she's hanging out in Nashville with her friends, real friends, all the football, all the wags, football, wives and girlfriends. Right now, her opportunist friends in Hollywood, So I think that's why. Again, right? You got to understand, anytime Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce does something, there's a lot of planning involved. I guess that's not revolutionary, but still, right? But good for them. They're crushing it. Good for Taylor Swift. I think Taylor Swift, revolutionary opinion here, I think Taylor Swift ultimately is good for football, right? Her involvement in the sport is great. I feel that way because I love football. I think it's the greatest sport. I think Taylor Swift can serve as a mechanism to bring fathers, daughters, aunts, uncles, and nieces together, bringing people together through the game of football. If she can be a vehicle to do that, which I think she already has been, I think it can be incredibly powerful. And I think she could be an incredibly positive force for the game of football. Okay. I'm gonna stick on the talk here. Gonna switch it up a little bit. Todd McShay, obviously big draft guy, knows a lot about the draft. Obviously, he's covered it for 20 plus years now. This is him talking about Drew Allor, and again, I think Drew Allor is a guy who's gonna be. Look, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I would, and Arch Manning does. We'll talk about this a little later. If I'm the Cleveland Browns and Arch Manning decides to go out this year, which I don't think he will, but let's say he does after the season, declares for the draft, I would stay as far away from that as possible. I'm all over Drew Allor, right? First of all, the kid's from Ohio, right? He's from Northeast Ohio. Excuse me. He's from Northeast Ohio. Again, can I say it a third time? From Northeast Ohio, right? Played at Penn State. This dude's played in huge games. He understands what it means to be a big-time franchise quarterback, because that's what he is at Penn State. Okay? And he's tall, he can throw the football at an extremely high level, and he's really smart. That's a winning formula, in my opinion. That's what Todd's got to say.
Big, he's smart, he's tough, he's strong, he's competitive. He sees the entire field. He goes through his progressions quickly. And my goodness, he has an easy stroke and a ton of energy on the football.
I love his throwing motion.
Oh,
I love his throwing motion.
He's central casting with so many elements of the position. But he's one of the most complex quarterback evaluations I can remember, and at least in a long time. There's two things that really irk me. And it's not even including the big games. Okay, I'm talking about the traits. Like I'm talking about what I see on tape. The agility is concerning because he gets away with it with all those things we just talked about: the instincts, the feel, the toughness, the competitive, all those things. I just don't know against NFL pass rushers, and maybe that's part of why in big games happen against talented teams. Talented teams typically have dudes up front defensively who.
Now, look, if he can get into a good system, if he can get with a good coach that can teach him pocket presence. I think the thing, too, at Penn State is he's used to getting away, being able, like McShay said, being able to get away with, with his, kind of his throwing ability, his ability to see the field. He can kind of get away from having to use his legs, okay? But when he has to, he doesn't have the ability to run away from people. And I think what he's bringing up is a very good point, which is, when Drew Allor has not played his best, and this is a big thing with NFL evaluators, when Drew Allor has not played at his best, it has been in the biggest games. That is a knock. I just said, I think this dude is plays at a franchise level, right? Because again, he wins the games he's supposed to win at Penn State. But I think it's a fair point when you look at him in the big games, he hasn't played very well. Right? And like McShay is saying, in those bigger games, you're playing against big-time talent. Big-time NFL talent.
Who are running 4.5. 4'6", 4'7" at the worst, at 250, 260 pounds. Is it the wide receivers?
And that's another thing, too, that I think is a good point. And again, I know I was just making a case for Allor, but I think this is a good point, too. You don't see the caliber of pass rusher. You don't see the NFL caliber pass rusher as consistently in the Big Ten as you do in the SEC, right? Our boy Arch, he's going to be going against an SEC pass. When they get into that the SEC schedule, there's going to be at least 1, 2, 3, 4. There's probably going to be at least one NFL, probably 2 or 3 NFL guys on an SEC defense, and at least one of them is probably going to be a pass rusher. Certainly at Georgia, I'd imagine at a place like Texas A&M, LSU, okay, Kentucky, right? All those places, they're defense. They're outside of LSU, but LSU's always had a history of having big-time defensive players, right? You see that in the SEC. You don't really get that in the Big Ten. You may get guys that are really good on the exterior, right? Corners, maybe guys backers. But solid NFL, legitimate NFL talent up front, I don't think you see that as much as you see it in the SEC. You see it in the Big Ten, right? Places like Ohio State, Michigan, Illinois, right? Iowa, maybe. Well, that's a good one, Iowa. But not consistently like you would. So I think that's a fair number.
Or is it because they know he is so much more effective throwing kind of middle field, in breaking where he's looking at it, comebacks, receivers open, guys where he can see the jersey number in front of him. I don't remember a single quarterback I've ever evaluated that's at this level where we're talking about potentially first round, where I'm like, there's some kind of visualization problem. And I don't know if that's the stem or the root of it, but there's something with receivers that are moving away from him. Post-corner.
So I think what he's trying to get at is Allor is going to struggle or struggles to throw guys open or put it into a tight window, right? You got to really force it into a tight window, right? You know, they talk about NFL open, right? Is really like not open in college, but you got to really thread the needle, fit it in there. Can he cut it loose like? Does he have the ability to do that? Or does he have to see it wide open and then throw it? Some guys are like that, whatever it is. And I think that's again going to be something that's going to hold him back, right? When those opportunities are there, he's got to be able to throw it. And can he really shoot it and fit it in there? That's going to be a big question. And I think that's going to come down to, you know, figuring out, like McShay said, what's the root of that? Why is that? Is it because he doesn't have the arm strength? I don't think it's because of that. I think it's just because he probably doesn't have that. You know, there's some guys that they can just boom. They're used to playing in that kind of, you know, used to playing in a system where, hey, they've got guys in their face all the time. They're used to playing with receivers who can't get separation, right? There's some guys that's just kind of this innate quarterback gene that they're just willing to, in a tight spot, let it rip, right? Most quarterbacks aren't like that because I think the natural inclination as you're taught as a quarterback is play it safe. Don't throw it into somewhere that you shouldn't, right? But sometimes, especially in NFL, you got to really let it rip, right? You got to really put it to a spot and trust the guy's going to get there, right? Like the post corner he's talking about, right? You got to trust him to put it in this spot and that guy's going to get there because he's paid, you know, $15 million to do it, right? That's the NFL. Sometimes in college, you really don't do that. And I guess, well, you do that, but Allor doesn't do it. And he doesn't do it well. It's not a part of his game. And quite frankly, that's not a game that he's going to really put on tape a lot. Because number one, they're going to be going against guys they're going to overmatch everyone from an athleticism standpoint. We're talking about the athletes, right? They're going to always overmatch people, or for the most part, right? And then two, Andy Koltanecki is not going to, he's not there to design an offensive system to make Drew Allor's tape look good. It's there to win football games for Penn State. And the way he feels he can do that is the in-breakers that allow his athletes to get big separation for him to allow it. Then, like McShay said, have the numbers in front, boom, he can stick it, and the receivers can do something with it afterwards, right? So I think that's going to be enough. There's not going to be enough, I think, NFL quality throws that these scouts see on the tape because of what Penn State's offense is, and they're also going to be handing the ball a lot off, too. Getting the ball off a lot, too. So how that intermingles and plays in is going to be interesting to see. Let's finish up this clip here.
Corners, rolled outs, flares out of the backfield, you know, like little outlet dump offs. Maybe he just wasn't comfortable. Maybe the receivers weren't where. We're going to find out, though. So this is an important year for Allor. Listen, he is big, he's smart, he's tough, he's strong, he's
some of those rollouts, right? Rollouts, flare outs, right? Rollouts, essential when you talk about the play action game, right? Which is a huge part of NFL offense, right? If he is not comfortable at this stage in his career with doing the kind of the play action rollouts, whatever, that kind of stuff, if he's not comfortable doing that, and now I think there's going to be a lot of question as to whether he's ever going to get comfortable with it, right? Because in the NFL, or excuse me, in college, they're doing that out of the shotgun, whereas in the NFL, then you transition now into the under center model, predominantly. So if he's not comfortable doing it from the mostly shotgun position, it's going to be very hard to convince someone that we can teach him to do it under center. So, okay, moving right along. Okay. All right, so we'll switch gears here, talk a little college football. And again, I think this is going to take us into talk a little college football here. Again, talk some Florida. Okay, and I think Florida is an interesting story this year, man, especially as it relates to their quarterback situation. And we'll hear a quote. This is Brooks Austin. He does good stuff on TikTok. I would highly recommend you go check him out. But here's what he has to say about the
because my man Billy.
Here's what he's got to say about the current situation down there in Florida.
Had to go face the media today. Here's the quote. He's day to day. In general, he's made progress, but it will be something that we're monitoring, and hopefully as we go, his ability to participate in practice will be a bit more each opportunity that we have going forward. So based on that quote, he's going to undoubtedly miss practice time again. So a player that was injured all year last year that we were told was limited during practice reps all year last year and was thrown out into the fire and played admirably, I would admit, being a freshman football player, having the inability to practice because he was hurt. Also goes into the spring, the same injury is lingering. We have no ability to practice during the spring. Now we have a new injury and we have an inability to practice at the start of fall camp. Here's the deal. This guy's really, really talented, but this isn't a 12-year vet in the NFL that can just miss OTAs and doesn't need to practice. In fact, I told you guys before the show, and I fully believe this. I said it when I broke his film down. This is the most talented thrower of the football in college football. However, I don't think there's a more talented young quarterback that needs more practice than DJ Lagway, because there are tons of opportunities on tape where I'm like, oh, crap, you just need to play more football. Not seeing defenders, making mistakes we shouldn't, throwing balls we shouldn't throw, just doing young, stupid player mistakes that only happen because we haven't practiced and played enough football. And here we are, another opportunity to practice and get better that we're short of because we're hurt. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be healthy. I don't think it's a lingering issue. However, we keep missing practice, and this is a player that needs to practice. So for that,
I think Brooks is exactly right. This kid needs to practice. He was a freshman, right? And again, freshman last year went 6-1 as their starter, 1,915 yards, 12 tutties, led him to 4 straight wins that finished off the season. But again, he's a guy that needs to practice, right? He's got to practice. He's got to get those reps because he's got to, again, get to the next level of understanding of the offense if they want to progress, right? And they need him. I would say he's probably, if not their most important, he's certainly their most backup. He is probably their most important player on that team, right? Just because of the virtue of the position that he plays and how well they played with him at it. If they need him to play well, right? I think, look, it's moving in a really good direction. The fact that he's returning to the 11-on-11, it bodes really well that he's returned to the 11-on-11 kind of setup. Right now, he's seeing, he's getting to see live reps. He's getting to see a live defense. He's getting to kind of slowly build confidence. And look, they're playing Long Island the first game of the season, so it's not like it's going to be not like you're playing Georgia or anything. But they have a tough schedule. But I trust Billy Napier. I think he can get him, I believe, right? If there's a guy, I think if we were sitting here and this was the, Dan Mullen version of Florida, I don't know if I'd have exactly the same confidence. But I think Billy knows what he's doing. I think he's very organized. I think, again, look, you saw, like I said, you won 4 straight when he was your starter. You're always going to have athletes at Florida, okay? So I think if he can stay healthy, if there is a slow ramp up, right, to where he can gradually get healthy, and then by the time they really get into kind of the meat of their conference, the street fight of the SEC, and he can really be humming at full strength, I think they could be in some really good shape, right? Do I think playoff? Probably not, but I would definitely think potential for a New Year's Six bowl possible.
As you can see from
All right, hold on a second. All right,
news,
this is some more college football stuff on the TikTok. Let's take a listen.
Daniel said that
Response to. So we know how the Big Ten had kind of published or posted this kind of what it was like this proposal for 28. I think it was a proposal to extend or expand the playoff to 28 or 24, 28. I can't remember which, but some obscene number. And I think this was a pretty brilliant response.
the Big Ten proposed a 24 or 28 playoff expansion, and just want to air out my thoughts. This would be catastrophic to the sport. This would end the sport. As we know it, 16 is the max we should ever go to. We should not play an extra round. I think that this has been going on and been in talks for the last couple of months. When it was, when Greg Sankey, said that the SEC was going to break away from the NCAA, and
I do believe it would. I don't know if it would. I would love to kind of dig into what he means about end the sport. I think it would do some serious damage to it. I think it would probably. I mean, yeah, as I think about it now, it would end the sport because it would degrade from it just wouldn't make sense. I don't know. He's gonna happen. He's gonna go on to explain it. But what it would do is it would take away the conference championships. The whole model that the Big Ten is proposing would eliminate the conference title, which would why do you play college football? Not everyone can compete for a national championship. Not every team, and this is why it would kill college football, is because not every organization has the equality of. This is not the NFL. Right? The NFL model is fair because every team has an equality of resources they can spend to get to those coveted spots in the playoffs. At the collegiate and college football, not everyone has the same resources, even in the conference, right? Maryland doesn't have the same resources as Clemson. So when you go do this 2018 model, the same 28 teams that can continue to pay and invest are going to be the only 28 teams that will be there, and everyone else will just be nothing. We'll be playing for the love of the game, pretty much, because there won't be, they're gonna, there'll be bowl games, I guess, maybe. But with the 2018 playoff, why do you need bowl games? What's the point?
And do their own league. This is what the Big Ten proposed behind closed doors. The media did not know. This is just my assumption, but this is what led Sankey to want to do his own league. I'm an SEC guy. I was very against that. After knowing or hearing that the Big Ten is behind this 24-28, proposal, SEC should go do their own thing. They have the best product, the best fans, the best players, and it's always going to stay that way. These kids come from the South. They're not going to go up north to go to the Big Ten. No matter how much money these guys have, they're going to stay in the South for the most part. And
yeah, so I think the first part there. I mean, again, I think he's right, and I think he is right. Look, if the SEC is so powerful, and I think the point is SEC is so unbelievably powerful, right, that they don't need the NCAA, right? They're enough of an entity alone where they could just go negotiate their own television contract, create their own Super League. Fuck, well, why wouldn't they? Right? We can make our own rules up. We can whatever. Right? No, who's going to say anything to them?
The SEC dominance is only going to continue. College football runs through the SEC, and They don't think about the other conferences. The SEC only cares about the SEC. Every other conference cares about the SEC. So sport runs.
And that's a great point. SEC doesn't care about everyone else. Everyone else cares about the SEC, right? They're the measuring stick. And that's true across all college athletics too, right? Baseball, basketball, right? A lot of these Olympic sports, golf. I mean, I know these aren't important sports as compared to football, but still, right? It just means more. When they say that, it just means more. They're not lying.
Runs through the SEC. Nothing's changing that. If I'm Greg Sankey and this thing actually goes down and we're going to 24 or 28, break away from the NCAA, make your own league. It's a better product, a better ratings, and overall runs college football. Most championships over the last 25 years, every single era. BCS, CFP 4-team. Obviously not 12-team. We're 1 year in, but NIL era, portal era. SEC has the most championships in every single era, decade, since the turn of the century. So it's.
And that kind of he's right. Yeah, I think, look, again, but I think the most important part is, like I said, they have the leverage. They have an ability they can, if they want to, break away and have their own negotiations with these television companies. Because that's how important, that's how massive the product is. So, okay. Let's talk some, let's keep on this college football track here. Somebody texted me. Okay. So we'll get into all right, so we'll get into sorry, the old headphones fucked up. Anyways, okay, let's talk about some of these college football starting quarterbacks here. Yeah, we'll probably finish up with this here. We'll talk a little college football starting quarterbacks, and I'll jump off for the evening. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You know, again, we don't get to do this a lot, but yeah, we'll talk some college football quarterbacks here, and then jump off for the evening. Thank you so much for joining me. And again, you can hit me up. You see my social media right there: Instagram at Playbook P Rogers _ X at Playbook Pat Rogers, and then YouTube at Playbook P Rog. Please hit us up. So, all right, we'll jump right in here. Okay. All right. Well, so basically, we'll just talk about it. Let's remove this. All right. So Ohio State has named a bunch of college football teams have named their starting quarterback. Notably, Notre Dame, Alabama, Syracuse, Ohio State, and then Texas. Obviously, Texas, we kind of that job was kind of spoken for with Arch. We kind of knew that, but Ohio State names Julian Sayin. Let me back up. Ohio State names Julian Sayin, his quarterback. Alabama transfer names their starting quarterback. He came over to Ohio State after Nick Saban. Jesus Christ. We start this over again. Okay. Ohio State has named their starter, them among many, right? Alabama named theirs. Syracuse has named theirs. A bunch of other teams, I believe Cal named theirs as well. So the guy they named as their starting quarterback, Julian Sayin, right? He is Alabama transfer, came over after Nick Saban retired, been in the program for a while, was obviously a five-star recruit. Was recruited by Texas actually as well. And Ryan Day basically said, look, his consistency kind of down the stretch of camp is what did it, right? He was a little bit more consistent than Lincoln Kleinholz was, and he felt like, hey, kind of moving into, as we start preparing, we kind of move out of this fall camp phase. and into the first week of the season, I think it's really important that we give Julian those reps. Obviously, high school kid was unbelievable. Threw for over almost 8,000 yards, 7,824 yards, 85 touchdowns, 10 INTs. Right, really good decision maker. Only one interception, 212 pass attempts at Ohio. In high school, had a nice touchdown ball this past year against Western Michigan. And this is what Sark had to say about it. Sark said, ton of respect for Julian. We recruited him hard. He was a very gifted passer, a really good player. Came to camp with us. I wanted to say 2 years in a row that we got a lot of familiarity with him. He said, so very good player, elite passer, good arm talent, quick release, really accurate guy. And I think that's going to be the key, right? That's going to be the key for Julian Sand. Can he be a good decision maker, throw the ball away when he needs to, get it vertically down the field to guys like, obviously, Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate. Okay. Also got a new, they got new tight end from Purdue, Max Clare. Get the ball to them vertically when you need to, and then hand the ball off to Peoples and Donaldson Jr., your two running backs. Again, Ohio State, once again, is a dominant running back core. Get the ball to those guys and don't make any bad decisions. Right? I think that's going to be really the key. If they can manage him and the defense can keep explosive plays, right? Keep the crowd, especially against a team like Texas coming on the road, keep the crowd into it. I think Ohio State has a good chance to win week 1. But I think, again, the winning formula is going to be, like I said, get the ball to your playmakers, don't make any dumb decisions, kind of let them win the game for you, right? Take advantage of the explosives, and just, again, be that elite, accurate passer that you are, right? When the opportunity presents itself, let it loose. And then Bama, right? Bama also named their starting quarterback, Ty Simpson, right? He's a redshirt sophomore. Look, I think they're going to go really a lot. I think they're going to revert. I don't say revert. They're, I think, going to go back to a lot of what they were with Mac Jones, right? In that, I think they're going to take advantage of having two good running backs, kind of a balanced running attack, right? Again, Ryan Grubb, new offensive coordinator, loves to have a good balanced running attack, right? Stay in the ground and pound, right? Have good methodical drives with the run game, and then take your shots vertical with your passing, with the passing game vertical, right? We saw it, Mac Jones, right? Have methodical drives with Najee Harris, right? Beat your physical, beat him with your physical defense. Then take shots with Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Henry Ruggs. And then, again, keeping the offense quarterback friendly, I think, is going to be really key for Alabama. That's what they plan to do. It's what Ryan Grubb's offenses are typically known to do, right? Be very quarterback friendly so that you can allow for in-breaking routes, allow your playmakers to get separation, allow for nice, easy throws, which can then allow for big explosive plays on the back. So, look, I really love really love what Kalen DeBoer and this offensive staff are going to do. I'm really excited. I shouldn't say really love what they're going to do because I don't know what it is yet, but really excited to see kind of how this team evolves, how this offense evolves under Ty Simpson. It's going to be super interesting. So, look, I said we're going to take a little. I know we said we're going to finish up here, but I think. You hit these headphones, man. Super sensitive. Excuse me. So they said we're going to finish up here. I think I'm going to take a quick break, but on the flip side, we're talking a little week 0 because we haven't really talked about that yet. So a college football heavy show here tonight on the Playbook Podcast Live. Fuck yeah, dude. Well, this dude X, I don't know who the fuck this dude is, but he is so good. Let's go view. Oh shit. This guy's so, I mean, like, he does stuff on Spotify, but let's fucking DJ right now, bro. I'm in the club. This one's, it's like March Madness split up. It's actually kind of cool. Where's it going? Bad. Not totally bad. All right, it's enough of that. Okay. I should have probably like made a cool little like okay. Let's talk some college football here. College football betting week zero. Okay. So look, I've talked about my week 0 action here on the show before. Look, I'm all over Kansas, either -3, -3.5, or excuse me, Kansas State, that is -3 or -3.5. Again, Iowa State they're losing, I think, 2,000-yard pass catchers. I think the quarterback matchup favors Kansas State. Kansas State, they've got this kid, Dylan Edwards, very, very good running back. Iowa State's defense, 84th ranked rush defense in all of college football. Give me Kansas State here -3. Now, something I want to draw your attention to here. And this is this is kind of how I like to bet, right? Really important to understand here when you talk about sports betting. I am by no means an expert, but I do know a thing or two. And what I do know is anytime you see something like this, right? And it says here, right, based on the handle versus ticket disparities, here's where the sharp money has likely here's where sharp money has likely taken positions, right? So look at the tickets, look at the handle, right? 46% of the tickets, but 80% of the handle, meaning 80% of the money, okay, is on, that means there's 80% of the money, but only 46% of the tickets are on Hawaii, right? That means there's a little, obviously, there's not many tickets, but a lot of money, right? So those significantly smaller tickets, betting tickets, are of a bigger amount, right? Whatever number makes up the 46% tickets that are on Hawaii, right? Those are going to be of significantly more value than the 80% or whatever the other bigger percentages of the tickets on the other side, right? Okay, so that's important to understand. That's how you can see where the sharp money is going, right? And of course, we got the first one here, right? It's just Hawaii -2, right? It was, only 46% of the bets were on the Rainbow Warriors, but they're getting, again, 80% of the handle. Okay, Stanford opened up as a 2.5-point favorite, but it's now flipped. Okay, again, you got to understand, Stanford, they're coming in under interim head coach and Frank Reich. Okay, 5-hour flight. Okay, to 5-hour flight to Hawaii. These things will always, especially in a situation like this, where it's going to get wonky because you're playing in Hawaii. Okay, it's always a weird spot out there. It's notorious. Okay, it's a weird, funky spot. When you add all of the ancillary factors for Stanford, on top of the fact that Hawaii's got 14 returning starters, and they've been ready all summer. And Timmy Chang's done a good job out there at Hawaii getting those guys going in the right direction. So give me Hawaii -2.5 there, okay? And then you can see right here, look, Sam Houston +10, 37% of the tickets, 51% of the handle, right? A lot of these games are pretty even, right? Especially in the spread, but look at this. Under 60.5, Sam Houston, WKU, 20% of the tickets, 64% of the handle. I think that's an absolute hammer there, that under, and then the under 50.5. And then the under 50.5. Oh, whatever. It looks like I lost connection on my camera there. That's weird. Let's do this. We can switch it up. Da-da-da-da. 1 second here, folks.